Get the healthcare coverage you and your family need. Financial help may be available for those who qualify. Call 855-452-BLUE or visit hereforyouok.com to see if you're eligible to enroll. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma, a division of Healthcare Service Corporation, a mutual legal reserve company.
I'm Jordan Klinger, an attorney at McIntyre Law. The decision to hire an attorney after you've been injured is important. The decision on who to hire is even more important. At McIntyre Law, we will settle a case if the offer to our client is fair. Partial justice is no justice at all. At McIntyre Law, we are committed to obtaining full justice for our clients. Contact McIntyre Law at 405-917-5200 or visit us at mcintyrelaw.com.
Today, this breakfast isn't just breakfast. It might be the first McDonald's breakfast you're having at McDonald's again. This lunch might be a weekly tradition you hadn't had in weeks. And this dinner might be the first one you bought for not just you in a while. Whatever this order is for you, McDonald's will be here to take it.
Get more of the chicken you love with a delicious McChicken sandwich for $1. And for an extra buck, add a refreshing Dr. Pepper. Dining rooms are starting to reopen in certain communities at participating McDonald's. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
I am Conor McGregor, multiple weight MMA champion. I'm a fighter and I've been through many battles in the octagon. Many consider my fights in the octagon heroic. But the real-life heroes are those men and women who fight to protect us every day. The real-life fighters, the real-life heroes, are the firefighters and police officers. These first responders are true heroes because these brave men and women put themselves in the line of danger every single day protecting us all. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation ensures that first responders from fire, EMS and police departments who are killed in the line of duty with young children have a home without the burden of a mortgage. They are my heroes. They need our help today. I'd like to ask you to join me in donating $11 a month to support their efforts. Your $11 a month honors and supports our first responders. Please call now at 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis.
And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, pop up!
Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu, I drive like a gangster when I'm coming to see you.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
I am a real American. Fight for the rights of every man. I am a real American. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life. When it comes crashing down and it hurts inside. Gotta take a stand, it don't hurt to hide. If you hurt my friends, then you hurt my pride. I gotta be a man, I can't let it slide. I am a real American, fight for the rights of every man. I am a real American, fight for what's right, fight for your life. I feel strong about right and wrong. And don't take trouble for very long. I'll get something deep inside of me. Courage is the thing that keeps us free. I am a real American, fight for the rights of every man. I am a real American, fight for what's right, fight for your life. I am a real American, fight for the rights of every man. I am a real American, fight for what's right, fight for your life. If you hurt my friends, then you hurt my pride. I've gotta be a man, I can't let it slide. I am a real
And welcome into this abbreviated edition of the Rick Robinson Show live right here on KLRN Radio. It's only abbreviated because I've been covering or trying to cover. Thank you, C-SPAN, for continuing to time out on me every other 90 minutes or so. Trying to cover the extended coverage we had with partnership, starting with Digital Beacon, and then KLRN Radio picked it up when it kind of seemed like it was just going to go on for forever. And then every time I went to go try to make lunch or something, the feed would time back out again. So when they finally wrapped, that's why at one point I just decided to join with the station feed, because I started to feel like it was going to go on for like the entire day. And then right about the time I resigned myself to that fact, they decided to shut everything down. So I took a quick break, made a little bit of lunch because I haven't eaten anything yet today. And now I'm right back on the air with all of you because I'm insane. Speaking of insane, though, God, what a slow news day for a Monday, right? I mean, just saying. Nothing big happened over the weekend, nothing like that. Anybody know where Joe Biden is? That's been a question I've been asking now since he basically was sequestered, because everybody keeps telling us how much better he's doing and how much better everything is. And yet he Dear John'd the entire country. It's been my great honor to serve you all. Peace, I'm out, but I'm keeping my presidency until January. Here's my thing. If he's not cognizant enough, cogent enough, and well enough to run a campaign, how the hell is he still able to run the country? Don't answer that. It's rhetorical. We already know the answer to the question. He's not the one running the country and hasn't been for quite some time, but it's still a fun question to ask. Now, we need to change tacks for a little bit, because we'll get into the Secret Service stuff probably in more detail tomorrow, because I have some footage I want to come over and grab some moments that I liked that aren't necessarily being covered by everybody else, instead of just rehashing theirs. Now that we have the entire feed, I'm going to go through and find some stuff that I want to talk about, and we'll incorporate that probably into tomorrow's show. But for now, we have other things to discuss, like this as an example. So hang on just a second. Because everybody on the left is in spin cycle mode in a worse way than I think I've ever seen. So hang on, I have to unmute the site first, because I usually make sure it's muted for when I'm playing around in the chats when we're streaming.
I think it takes character and integrity to pass the torch to the next generation and to know you've left it all on the field, but that there's someone else who could maybe do this job better. So I commend him. I said it a year ago that the history books will remember him very kindly if he knows to pave the way for someone else to come up behind him. And listen, the reality was it was going to be a really big uphill battle for him if he stayed in the race. And I would look no further than the absolute meltdown that's happening on the Trump campaign right now. The messaging, since it's been pretty clear, Vice President Harris is now the Democratic nominee or soon to be. They don't know what to do with themselves. They planned a whole campaign against Joe Biden, not against a female former prosecutor, attorney general, senator, somebody who, well, she's the vice president. There are unknowns there. All their data, all their strategy was built around this man. It's a moment that I feel like people are energized. I'm just feeling something. I think a lot of folks, 6 and 10, didn't want that rematch. We lived through it in 2020. 2020 was a hellish year. Now it's like something totally different. And I'll be honest, I'm just excited.
I'm just excited. That was so Valley Girlish of her. So yeah, let's let her be excited, because I have questions. Where is this GOP meltdown that everyone's talking about? I'm not seeing it. I see a bunch of people laughing and pointing at an old man who finally figured out he's too old to run the country, but still doesn't want to leave the office. I didn't see an RNC where it was all about Joe Biden, much like we're going to see at the DNC. I promise. What I saw was everyone pointing out that his policies suck, that his policies have run us into the ground, that everything that he says he's going to do with his policies, the exact opposite actually occurs. That's what I saw. And I was watching the whole thing because I get paid to watch the whole thing. I'm just saying. No, we didn't have a team there this year, but I did keep up with it. I do hope that we can put a team together to get there in 4 years, assuming we're still here, because you never know anymore. You never know anymore. But this is one of the things that I definitely wanted to talk about today, because now you're starting to see the machine spin up the other way. Oh my God, the Republicans don't know how to handle it now that Kamala Harris is probably going to be the one at the top of the ticket. One, nobody said that yet. She's been endorsed by Biden, supposedly. But guess who hasn't endorsed her yet? Barack Obama hasn't endorsed her yet. Nancy Pelosi hasn't endorsed her yet. Nobody of really any consequence has endorsed her yet. And I'm not saying that I don't want them to, just to make sure we're on the same page. I want the matchup for Trump Harris. I really do. I honestly would have preferred the matchup with Trump Harris if he had taken my advice, even though I don't have his ear, and nominated Tulsi Gabbard as his VP, because that would have changed the entire dynamic of his ticket. Now, there is some truth to the fact that, we've been campaigning against Biden now for months, but the thing about it is everybody kind of knew it wasn't going to be Biden. We kept telling everybody it wasn't going to be Biden. Well, they were the ones that were telling us, oh, no, you're full of crap. You're full of crap. You're full of crap. He's awesome. He could run circles around Trump every day of the week and twice on Sunday, and it would be fine. He can beat Biden in his own game, and as long as Trump has to carry his own golf bag, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, look, you guys are not seeing the same things that we're seeing, but the same thing is happening now. Now, I'm going to change tactics for a second, or change tacks. For the conservatives that are listening to me, for the Republicans that are listening to me, this changes nothing. This changes absolutely nothing. Our game plan is the same. We point out the policies. We point out what Trump wants to do to fix the policies. This isn't about a single person. This is about an agenda. It is about a totally failed agenda. And this is something that I pointed out over the weekend, because I was at a birthday party and one of my former sister-in-laws, who still insists that I call her a sister, asked me, do you think we're going to win this year? And I said, I don't really see any way that we can't, because we're not running against a single person. We're running against it. We're not even this, I guess, not even really the right wording, because what I said was, we're not running against a person. We're running for a change in agenda. And that needs to be our focus. We're not running against anything. We're running for things. We're running for people to have more money in their pockets. We're running for people to be more free again. We're running for people to be able to afford to buy a house again, if that's what they want to do. We're running for people to be able to chase their version of the American dream, whatever that is, and to do so with as little governmental interference as possible. That's what we're running for. That's what we're trying to change. We spend so much time on the negative because it sells in media that we forget it doesn't really sell in campaigns. It works great for ad buys, it works great for the news cycle, all of that, but it doesn't really move the needle in campaigns. And I think we've lost some of that somewhere. So we really should be changing the entire narrative of how this is being approached, because it's not about whoever they put at the top of the ticket, because we still don't even know. It's about making sure that Americans have more money. I mean, I already went through it again, through the entire list. I don't really feel like going through it again, but it really is that simple. We're running for things, not against someone. And that needs to start being the narrative. Now, at the same time, the political action, and that would be my direct message to the campaign. So if anybody has their ear, please forward it, because I know I don't. I wish I did, but I don't. At least not yet, anyway. But now the political action committees, the Make America Great Again Fund, all those things, they can run the ads about Harris because those have already started. Or I'm sure they have opposition research for pretty much anybody that they thought might wind up getting the nod when everybody was aware of what a mess this was going to become. So those folks can be the ones running the ads about, I mean, Kamala Harris ads pretty much already been done, and there's even worse things that they haven't covered yet because she's more liberal than Carter. That's saying something. She's weak on crime. For a former prosecutor to be as weak on crime as she is, that's insane. There's just so much material there. So I don't really understand why the Democrats are all of a sudden going, "Oh, we've got him on the ropes now because Donald Trump planned his entire campaign around Joe Biden." No, Donald Trump planned his whole campaign on Biden's failed policies. What nobody wants to talk about, though, is it doesn't matter who you put at the top of the ticket on that side because their policies are all the same. They are. Their policies are no different than a lot of the establishment Republicans. That's why nobody likes Trump, except for the people that have come in under him, following his game plan, that have understood the phrase "Make America Great Again" is not racist. It has nothing to do with skin color. And I'm going to say this again. There weren't the dyed-in-the-wool racists in the GOP party that there are still today in the Democratic Party. There were, and probably still are, a few country club Republicans. They don't care about skin color or anything else for that matter, other than whether you're new money, old money, or no money. Because to them, old money or new money and no money are the same thing. So you want to know why they were so hard on a lot of people when the country club Republicans were in charge? Because we don't want those kind around her. And it's what you're seeing from a lot of the pundits, especially after the first day of the RNC. Those aren't the people we want in the tent. Let me tell you something. As long as they're for lower taxes, less government, and me getting to do more of what I want to do without the government being in my way about trying to do it, then I'm for anybody that wants to join that tent. If you're not, then we need to figure some things out. But we'll figure those things out after this election, because if we don't win this election, we're toast. If we don't win this election, we are toast. We will not survive another 4 years of this. And the reason I will say with 1,000% certainty that we will not survive another 4 years of this is this has been over 100 years in the making. They have done everything they can over the last 100 years to make us less of what we were when we were founded and more of what they want us to be. And please don't misunderstand what I'm about to tell you. If you missed it, the communists took over the Democratic Party 100% over the weekend. They have become the very thing they told us they were trying to fight. Because now they're going to have a handful of elites decide who your candidate's going to be. If you're a Democrat, I would be pissed. Don't listen to the folks of The View. Don't listen to Joe Scarborough. Listen to your gut. Because if you're a rank and file Democrat right now and you're not pissed, you need to go take a long stand, look in a mirror, and find out why. No matter how much you hate Trump, no matter how bad you think he is, I need you to understand what just happened. Your party killed democracy to try to save it. We have been touted as the empire in bloom, from episode 3 of the Star Wars movies, since Trump walked off the escalator. I need you to look at who's actually embracing the dark side when it comes to government, because it's not us. We're looking right at you and telling you you should be pissed off right now. Your entire party just threw all of your votes out the window and said, yeah, we don't like the results, so we're going to start over. Our party tried that once. We stopped them. Why haven't you stopped them? Why haven't you? Because, Rick, you don't understand. Donald Trump is so evil that we don't care who they put up there as long as we know that they're going to be able to beat him. Because Donald Trump is literally Hitler. And this is why we can't be friends. Because nobody's Hitler but Hitler. And some of your own policies that you scream and fight for every single day were thought up by eugenicists. Do your own research. Look up Margaret Sanger. She was not a good person. Her specific idea for pushing the idea of abortion was to limit questionable populations from being able to take root in certain areas. RBG, the notorious RBG, cited that in one of her opinions early on in the fight about abortion. We are not the party you've been told we were. You're watching your party do everything they told you we were going to do, and you're cheering. Are you really that far gone that you are watching your party turn itself upside down in the pursuit of stopping one man at all costs, including the very freedoms that every single one of you tell me every day that you're the ones fighting to save? Are you truly that far gone? Because this is unprecedented territory. The closest we got was in 2016, when the establishment Republicans, once he got the nomination, were like, oh, no, we don't like none of this. We don't like none of this. No, Al, I'm trying to stay in a good mood. I have been working nonstop for 2 weeks, and I'm trying to stay in a good mood. So I decided to throw on a Hawaiian song. However, we might actually throw in some Beach Boys music at bumpers. Thanks for the idea. Oh, if you're not in our chat, you should be. Chats are open on Rumble, X, Facebook, and YouTube. And I do my best once they get active to stream them so everybody can see them. Not all of your comments are going to make it onto the screen. That's not anything on my end. It seems like there's sometimes a delay with Restream, and occasionally that causes hiccups. So if you type something and you don't see it, feel free to type it again. Give it about 30 seconds or so just to make sure. But anyway, and yes, Al, exactly right. Taxation is slavery, because it has been. They did all of this on purpose. But now those of you that keep telling me that Donald Trump is the threat to democracy are watching as they steal democracy away from you. And you're okay with it. You just heard it. I just played a clip from one of the most prominent voices on the left right now. The ladies from The View who are doing a happy dance because Joe Biden did the noble thing and stepped down. If that's what you guys think happened, we really got to talk about a bridge I have for sale, because that's not what happened. The party elite realized they were going to lose. The party elite doesn't want to give up their access and power, so they're doing everything they can to hang on to it. And I'm just pointing this out again. You guys are the ones that were telling us we were going to do this. Now it's being spun the other way. Joe Biden stepped aside for the good of the country, and Donald Trump would never do that. But that's not actually what happened. If Joe Biden was willing to step aside for the good of the country, he would have been a transitional candidate from the beginning, because that's what he ran on. It really is that simple. But sure, keep spinning for him. Keep buying their BS. Because that's what you're doing. You allowing them to perpetrate this against you just proves that you are the sheep they thought you were. And I'm not calling for violence or anything else, but I am calling for people to speak out about their votes and their voices being canceled. I mean, where's the outrage? Why am I not seeing outrage? There should be outrage everywhere, all over social media. But it's being spun because Joe Biden is trying to do the best thing for the country because we have to stop Trump at all costs. It's just insane. It's insane that this is where we are. I didn't want the do-over either, but I didn't want us to get away from the do-over like this. This is the antithesis of everything this country was founded upon. Candidates are not supposed to be chosen by the elite. They're just not. But I guess we're going to let it happen. I don't know how we got here. I don't know how we got here. Well, I can't really say that because I do know exactly how we got here. All right, we're going to take a quick break just because it gives me time to get a couple things reset here, and I'm going to pull up the next things we're going to be talking about. So you're listening to the Rick Robinson Show live on KLRN Radio. Nope, no Beach Boys yet. Maybe on the way back in. You never know.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
In uncertain times, we could use someone to lean on. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma will stand by you with plan options to fit your budget. If you've recently lost your job, had a baby, or moved, you can still get the healthcare coverage you and your family need. Financial help may be available for those who qualify. Call 855-452-BLUE or visit hereforyouok.com to see if you're eligible to enroll. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma, a division of Healthcare Service Corporation, a mutual legal reserve company.
I'm Jordan Klinger, an attorney at McIntyre Law. The decision to hire an attorney after you've been injured is important. The decision on who to hire is even more important. At McIntyre Law, we will settle a case if the offer to our client is fair. Partial justice is no justice at all. At McIntyre Law, we are committed to obtaining full justice for our clients. Contact McIntyre Law at 405-917-5200 or visit us at mcintyrelaw.com.
Today, this breakfast isn't just breakfast. It might be the first McDonald's breakfast you're having at McDonald's again. This lunch might be a weekly tradition you hadn't had in weeks. And this dinner might be the first one you bought for not just you in a while. Whatever this order is for you, McDonald's will be here to take it.
Get more of the chicken you love with a delicious McChicken sandwich for $1. And for an extra buck, add a refreshing Dr. Pepper. Dining rooms are starting to reopen in certain communities at participating McDonald's. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
I am Conor McGregor, multiple weight MMA champion. I'm a fighter and I've been through many battles in the octagon. Many consider my fights in the octagon heroic, but the real life heroes are those men and women who fight to protect us every day. The real life fighters, the real life heroes are the firefighters and police officers. These first responders are true heroes because these brave men and women put themselves in the line of danger every single day protecting us all. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation ensures that first responders from fire, EMS and police departments who are killed in the line of duty with young children have a home without the burden of a mortgage. They are my heroes. They need our help today. I'd like to ask you to join me in donating $11 a month to support their efforts. Your $11 a month honours and supports our first responders. Please call now at 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis.
And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, Pop-Up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu, and drive like a gangster when I'm coming to see you, see you, see you, see you.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Everybody's gone surfing, surfing USA. We'll all be planning out a route we're gonna take real soon. We're waxing down our surfboard, we can't wait for June. We'll all be gone for the summer, we're on safari to stay. Tell the teacher we're surfing, surfing USA.
Had to be done. Thanks for the suggestion, Al. And we are back. We are live. It's the Rick Robinson Show, streaming live on KLR at KLR Radio, at Rowdy Rick 73, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook. We're everywhere. And as soon as we can figure out why we can't get the DNS pointed right again, we should have a website back. Finally fixed most of it. Now we just can't figure out why it won't turn back on. Anyway, so we're back. We're live, and for this next part, I'm going to turn this over to our good friend Gene Baradelli, who does This Week in Democracy. He also has relaunched his award-winning radio now video cast, Behind the Enemy Lines, that we will be carrying on Thursday afternoon, Thursday mid-mornings here on KLRN Radio, because he runs them on Wednesday night, and that's our busiest night, so I can't really simulcast him. Although it might work Saturday, Wednesday. I think they're only planning on doing an hour, and it would be opposite FUBAR if I did that. So maybe I'll do it on Wednesday night one night, and then Thursday on the nights I can't, on the days that I can't. Anyway, we'll figure that part out later. So I'm just thinking out loud. Don't mind me too much. All right, so we're gonna turn this segment over to This Week in Democracy, because he has a great bit of a take here with RFK Jr. And if you haven't seen what he said yet, this is something you really do need to listen to. Just saying. Here we go.
A little over a year ago, when I entered this race, I predicted that President Biden suffered from a degenerative condition that was not going to improve, and that it would make it impossible for him to govern effectively. The reaction of the DNC to that obvious condition was to hide it from the American public.
Ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering. America, welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Democracy, where we showcase some of the dumbest newsmakers of the week. But ladies and gentlemen, I just can't take it anymore. My heart, it's just too much at this point. Every single weekend, we're getting this historic, earth-shattering moment in the 2024 election cycle. The weekend before this past one, it was President Donald Trump's attempted assassination in Butler, Pennsylvania. And this weekend, we're talking about President Joe Biden withdrawing from the 2024 election cycle. He's refusing the nomination. He's dropping out of the race.
Good night, Grandpa.
Now, while every other channel probably out there, whether it be mainstream media or otherwise, is speculating about the inner workings of the Democratic Party, who's going to be next, will it be Kamala Harris? There's a lot of inner workings there, and there's a lot of answers yet to come in that particular aspect of this. I want to talk about the man you see on the screen right now, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and how this man is entitled, among with a few others, to say, "I told you so," when it came to Joe Biden's feeble mind, feeble body, and this candidacy. What do I mean? I mean that, as RFK Jr. has been saying for almost a year now, the DNC has been a threat to democracy because they rigged their primary process, and now it looks like they might be rigging their convention to be an open brokered convention, but not really, by having the rules rigged against any challengers to who the cronies and the donor class want. We're going to be talking about all this as part of listening to RFK Jr.'s point of view on the latest developments in this race. But before we do all that, I'm going to ask you guys to please smash the thumbs up button, like, comment, share this video with your friends, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff, because all that helps feed the YouTube algorithm.
What? Feed me! Okay.
As always, thank you guys so much for all that you do to help grow the channel. You know I really appreciate all of your efforts. And for all you newbies out there who may be searching other political channels to get more perspective on all of this historic, earth-shattering news that's out there about the 2024 elections, I'm glad you found us, and I hope that this video earns your subscription as we turn to an interview that RFK Jr. gave to Fox News, not only concerning how the DNC has been rigging their own nomination process since the jump of this election, but also offers some historical perspective about how another brokered convention that happened in Chicago over 50 years ago seems to be echoing in time today.
A year ago, a little over a year ago, when I entered this race, I predicted that President Biden suffered from a degenerative condition that was not going to improve and that it would make it impossible for him to govern effectively. The reaction of the DNC to that obvious condition was to hide it from the American public and to use their power over the Democratic Party nomination process to make sure that nobody could compete with President Biden in a way that would expose his deficiencies. And as a result, we are where we are today, which is in a period of crisis.
I don't really need to say anything else, do I? I think RFK Jr. laid it out perfectly. He was prescient in seeing all of this, seeing the machinations of the DNC to protect Joe Biden from any sort of exposure of his liabilities on the campaign trail. And the way that RFK Jr. was treated early on in this race, before he turned to become an independent candidate, absolutely atrocious. He was basically excommunicated from the Democratic Party. He doesn't get onto media, whether it be CNN or MSDNC. He has to go on Fox News, of all places, to even get coverage, which Jesse Waters does in the wake of the news that Joe Biden has withdrawn from the campaign.
Presidential candidate RFK Jr. joins us now. So, RFK, you ran the right way. You did what you were supposed to do. You're a Democrat. You primaried a Democrat incumbent, and they wouldn't let you. How did they jam you out of this thing? Because now look at what happened.
Yeah, I think it was a strategic mistake by the Democrats, Jesse, and you and I have talked about this before. But they got rid of, they changed the primary rules while while we were running the primary. They changed 60 different rules to make it impossible for anybody to challenge Joe Biden. One of the things that you remember that they did to me is I've been campaigning in New Hampshire, so they adopted a rule that said that any political candidate, any Democratic candidate who campaigns in New Hampshire, who steps foot into the state of New Hampshire, that all of their votes would go to the president, all of their delegates would go to the president.
That's some bullshit.
And then they shut down the Florida primary. They shut down a bunch of primaries and just said, we're not running them. We already have our candidate. You know, a few weeks ago, President Biden was ridiculing Vladimir Putin, who won 88% of the vote in Russia. And he said, you know, that was a fixed election because President Putin had made sure no adversaries could challenge him, and also that he had fixed the press so the press wouldn't cover his adversaries. Well, the Democratic Party succeeded in doing the same thing.
They were all rigged.
Think about that for a moment. RFK Jr., a Kennedy, who in the grand tradition of the Democratic Party has always been a lifelong Democrat, like his father, like his uncle the senator. I mean, this is Camelot. This is Democrat royalty, much in the same way that people today look at the Obama family or the Clinton family. That's how the Kennedys are. They are sort of I said it royalty. They're sort of the royalty, the old money of the Democratic Party. And this party, the modern party, not only fixed this primary, but did it in such a way that they turned RFK Jr. into a pariah. That this man from this great Democratic family had his own relatives turn on him for the sake of the party. And he's been the only one out there being honest about Joe Biden, his feeble mind, his feeble body. Well, maybe not the only one. I think you have to give Dean Phillips credit as well, although he seemed to be more sympathetic to trying to get Joe Biden ready for this campaign. But RFK Jr. has been out there saying this man is not fit, and the rules are being set in such a way that they're covering for him, that he's not going to be ready for the campaign trail. And what happened? That June debate happens, and Joe Biden's exposed for all the nation to see. And in less than a month, with an assassination attempt and a Republican convention in between, he drops out of the race. RFK Jr. is 100% on the money here, talking about what happened to Joe Biden. And the bad thing is, it's going to happen again now with the DNC convention.
Been allowed on any of the Democratic networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, as you know, Fox has allowed me on, although Fox, people like you have allowed me to speak, you debate me, you give me a platform, even though you don't agree with things that I say, and I think that's the way the media is supposed to work. But the other media networks have forgotten about that.
When you're playing with children, you just change the rules in the middle of the game and just kind of make it up as you go along. You can't do that when it comes to these high stakes. You know how things operate at conventions. There's been a long history of chicanery at these things. You've now have uncommitted delegates. Are we going to see bribery? Are we going to see quid pro quo? Are we going to see ambassadorships promised? Donors greased? This is a sprint to grease as many delegates by mid-August as possible.
Yeah, I think, some of that is bound to happen. I think most of those delegates are kind of mom and pop people. They're committed to Biden. They committed originally to Biden. His releasing them, I think a lot of them are probably idealistic people who want to see the Democratic nominee, or terrified of Donald Trump, who want to see the Democratic nominee succeed. But I don't. The indicators now, Jesse, is that the party elites are not really going to let go of the process, and we'll see what happens.
That's very interesting, isn't it? The party elites will not let go of the process. Some of you guys may already know that the DNC loves the term superdelegate. They love having these delegates. There are thousands of them, literally, who go to the convention. They're not assigned by the electoral process, the primary process. They're bigwigs in the party. They're donors. They're elected officials. They're higher-ups in the machine. And they put their thumb on the scale to pick the nominee. You may recall Bernie Sanders complaining about superdelegates back in the 2016 election cycle.
Initiate flashback!
We have received up to now 46% of the pledged delegates. We have received all of 7% of the superdelegates. Secretary Clinton has 525 superdelegates. We have all of 39. So she has 93% of the superdelegates. And here is what is really very, very interesting and I think not a good thing. Over 400 of these superdelegates indicated their support for Secretary Clinton before anyone else was in the race. They indicated their support for Secretary Clinton before the first ballot was cast. In other words, the establishment determined who the anointed candidate will be before the first voters got into the process.
This is the common practice of the DNC. They don't trust their own voters, and instead they want to put their thumb, their forefinger, their entire hand on the scale to fix the nominee to whom they want, who they can control, some people would say, but certainly their choice, not the people's choice.
You rigged this whole thing.
Rigged! That's what we're looking at right now in 2024. We have no nominee for the Democrats at this point. All of the delegates for Joe Biden have been released, which means that they're able to vote their conscience, or at least that's what it should mean. But what it really means is that there's going to be a new leader telling them who to vote for, whether it be Kamala Harris or somebody else. We don't know who it's going to be. We know at this point that Kamala Harris has the $90+ million from the Biden-Harris coffers to back her up to pursue the nomination. She also has the machine of the Biden-Harris campaign, the national apparatus of that. And she has the support of many people in the Democratic Party, many prominent people like the Clinton family, like many elected officials. But what we don't know as we're making this video is where the Obama family stands. We don't know where Chuck Schumer stands. We don't know where Nancy Pelosi stands. And Pelosi controls a lot of the donors and a lot of the money in DNC circles. So while we're dealing with all this speculation about what may happen, what could happen, RFK Jr. is once again sounding the alarm that there's going to be another rigged process here. And how does he know this? Not only from personal experience in this race, but when we come back, you're going to hear about the last time there was a DNC brokered convention. That was back in 1968. It was also in Chicago, where this one's going to be held, and it involved another candidate named RFK. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show.
The last time, there's a lot of similarities between this election and what happened with my dad's election in 1968. There was a war going on at that time that was very controversial and it was very damaging to our country. There were protesters in the street. The convention was in Chicago, and my father, who was leading, got knocked out by an assassin's bullet, not by a resignation. You, in effect, had an open convention, but the DNC at that time tried to maintain control over it. They put their candidate in, which Hubert Humphrey. There was the convention became riotous, and the riots shocked the American public, and they didn't want anything to do with the Democratic Party after that. And I think a lot of people in the Democratic Party probably should look back to what happened in 1968 and take some caution from allowing the party elites to continue to exercise control over their choices.
History doesn't repeat itself, ladies and gentlemen, but it certainly does rhyme, doesn't it? We're in a similar situation where there was an assassination attempt that, thank God, was unsuccessful in this election cycle. We have a Democrat National Convention happening in Chicago where it's going to be an open, brokered convention. And in 68, because there was a war going on in Vietnam and all that, there was very much a contentious, rancorous convention to the point where, as RFK Jr. told you, there were riots. I don't know if it's going to be that dramatic this time around, but there is certainly a similarity in that the Democratic Party leadership is picking who is best, not the people in the Democratic Party. In fact, Democratic voters, I sympathize with you right now. I feel like if you're disenfranchised, you have every right to feel that way. You were told that, this was going to be the coronation of Joe Biden again, and it's just not happening. And you sort of tolerated that process. And you've tolerated a candidate, an incumbent, with a feeble mind and a feeble body all this time in the hopes of beating Donald Trump. So now you're walking into a convention not knowing what's going to happen. You think you know what's going to happen, but you're not exactly sure. All the pieces aren't in place at this late hour as we're recording this video. But that uncertainty certainly leads to opportunity for other candidates. I know we're hearing Joe Manchin may re-register as a Democrat and put his hat in the ring, if not just to make people think about the choice of who to nominate as their party standard bearer. As things stand right now, it could be Kamala Harris, but again, what happens in the morning? I don't know. You don't know. People are out there thinking. Donors are probably getting together and talking. It may turn ugly for the DNC, but one thing's for sure. This is now apparently the second attempt by the DNC to rig their party nominee, and it's the second time that RFK Jr. is warning against that. How many I told you so is it going to take for the DNC to respect democracy? They didn't respect it during the primary process. They rigged that for Joe Biden. RFK Jr. tried to warn everyone, and no one heeded those warnings. Now you're heading into a convention where, once again, DNC party leaders are trying to rig the process before it even begins by having everybody coalesce around Kamala Harris without thinking about the ramifications of a party-selected candidate that has never won a delegate at all in any presidential race. Kamala Harris didn't win a single delegate in 2020. She's tripped and fell her way into the vice presidency, and now they're stuck with her because Joe Biden can't run. This woman has never earned a delegate in DNC history.
What kind of moronic plan is that?
Democrat voters, your party doesn't care what you think. Your party could give two shits about your choice for the nominee. Everything is cooked in. It's baked into the process with them. Whether it's super delegates in the past or broker conventions where you have this coalescence now, the DNC only cares about the power that comes with victory. They don't care about how you get to that power. They don't care about the route you have to traverse to get there. They are the agenda gymnastics team of politics here because they don't care how they get there. They have to get to that power. It's their drug. That's the dragon they're chasing. They're chasing the dragon of power right now. And they think that the best way to do that is to simply get Kamala Harris placed as the nominee rather than becoming elected as the nominee.
Get used to being screwed over.
It's a sad state of affairs for Democrats. I truly empathize and sympathize with any voter out there who feels like their party is running away with themselves and not listening to you. It's an unfortunate situation. But it's also a historic one that I'm here to watch. I'm interested to see what happens here in this race going forward. And who knows what the next weekend will bring to us. Or who knows what the next day will bring to us in this 2024 election cycle. So listen, I've given a lot of opinions of my own here. I now want to know what you guys think about all this. Leave me a comment about this whole mess in the DNC and the Democratic Party and what you think is going to happen. And as always, like and share the show with your friends, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other shows. I'm interested to see what everybody thinks about this weekend's developments, along with all the other shenanigans and buffoonery happening every day this week in Dumbmocracy.
Okay, so I guess he didn't do his usual disclaimer, or it doesn't have any volume. Anyway, as you can see on the screen, make sure you go check out his book, Snooks, Crooks, Liars, and Scoundrels, A Field Guide to Identifying Political Buffoons. on sale at Amazon right now. We're going to change over to the next thing I want to talk about. So give me just a moment while we do that.
And John Heilman, as we talk about how time and again Joe Biden's career was almost over, I can't help but go back and think about Richard Ben Kramer writing about Joe Biden. So many beautiful things about his 88 campaign, which ended very early. It was a terrible campaign, a flawed campaign. And at one point, when he's speaking, after a speech, his head was splitting so hard, hurting so hard, he had to run outside and literally stick his head in the snow.
I was looking to see if I could get
to try to dull the pain. Of course, that was because he was about to have an aneurysm. But time and again, he had a political collapse and then a rebirth. And he always asked after the 88 campaign, he could never figure out why it ended the way it ended. He believed that it was God's will that one day he would be president of the United States. And that happened in 87, 88. His life, of course, saved famously with that operation. But it would be another generation before he fulfilled that dream. Against all odds, I must say, after Iowa and New Hampshire, fulfilled that dream and became president of the United States, which again shows, outlines a remarkable political life he has had all these years.
I like being able to correct John Meacham occasionally. There were some votes cast for Joe Biden in 2008. He competed in the Iowa caucuses and dropped out, I think a day or two afterwards because he had done so poorly in Iowa.
But he had like 2%.
Yes, well, yes,
he and Chris Dodd.
Yes, he was. It was it's important in this context because after 88, he thought about running in 2000. He thought about running in 2004.
Right.
He kept thinking that he had a presidential run in him, and so then he ran in 2008. He made a comment on literally the first day of his campaign about Barack Obama that was seen as being condescending, and it sort of blew up his campaign literally in one day in the New York Observer. And that was the end. The donors looked and said, we're not going to be with Joe Biden. And it was a going nowhere campaign from the first that Obama chose him to be vice president, and that he then served Obama with such an older white man serving a young African-American man, which gave him great credibility with a lot of black voters and would come back to boost him when he ran in 2000, when he ultimately ran in 2020. All of that is an extraordinary political life. And yet, I think it's right to say that if you think about what the meaning of yesterday was, is that the above the fold on Joe Biden's obituary one day will now be that he there's a couple lines. The first will be that in the first real authoritarian threat to the United States, Joe Biden stood up to it in 2020. And then in 2024, when faced with it again, made the courageous decision that he didn't have what it took in the end to beat it back and made this self-sacrificing decision. Those are will now be the political headlines. One act of where he beat back authoritarianism, another where he yielded to have the Democratic Party have a chance to beat back the second attempt at authoritarianism. Right. I think those are going to be the headlines for him, and that's why yesterday's decision was, I think, the right one, and one that will be remembered kindly by history.
Well, and again, how one is doing in the public opinion polls when they leave office is not how history looks at them 20, 30, 50, 100 years from now, because Harry Truman left with 22% approval rating. Most every historian considers him to be a near great historian for all he did with NATO, for all he did with the Truman Doctrine, containment, basically starting the Cold War, but framing it in a way that the United States would beat back Soviet authoritarianism. George H.W. Bush, another one-term president who will be seen, if not already, as a near great president, because what he did when the Soviet Union collapsed, when the wall fell, the way he bound Europe together, he will be seen that way, as will Joe Biden, who will be seen, I think, by most historians as a person that beat back authoritarianism by running in 2000 and did his part by deciding to step down in 2004 and, like Cincinnatus, leaving power voluntarily and going home.
No doubt about it. I remember as a teenager, we were marching against the war in Vietnam, and LBJ, Lyndon Johnson, was the enemy. And looking back now at history, Lyndon Johnson was one of the greatest presidents for the things I believed in and for the country that ever existed. And I think that is why I pointed out in my piece that Joe Biden deserves credit now. When you look at the fact that we're sitting here this morning with the leading candidate, according to the polls, a convicted felon, and one that has been found to have sexually molested a woman. I mean, if he does not try to get out of the debates, and you know, Donald Trump and I both come from New York. In Brooklyn, we call him a punk in the streets. I don't think he wants to debate Kamala Harris because
I think he'll be afraid to debate.
Oh, he's a political punk. There's no doubt about it.
Really?
And I think that if his friend was promoting the about Don King, it would be the prosecutor versus the felon. That's how you would promote it. And she should open up.
King. Yeah. Don King and Don
well,
King
he used the picture of Don King and I had him in his intro at the convention. So Don should promote the debate. The felon versus the prosecutor. And she should open up by saying, I'd like to first ask my opponent, did he get permission from his parole officer to be at the debate this evening?
Okay, I'll tell you what, somebody page Don King. We have a packed show this morning, Mika.
Okay, so that's definitely enough of that. We've got one more quick hit. We're just kind of packing some stuff in today because I had a lot of material and we cut the show short because I had to grab some food. So hang on. Let's see. This one was the next one, and I've got it ready to go. So we do that. I don't understand why it always does that when I'm not sharing the screen. Sorry, still learning the ins and outs of this equipment a little bit, and occasionally it does things I don't quite understand. All right, so let's...
I think we can all agree that the man was shot.
Absolutely.
Yes? Okay. And I think we can all agree, I would hope, that he was shot by someone who had nefarious intentions toward the former president. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Joy Reid.
Okay.
What's her deal?
What is her deal?
This is interesting here. She is quite a conspiracy theorist.
Joy Reid from MSNBC.
We still don't know for sure whether Donald Trump was hit by a bullet, whether he was hit by glass fragments, whether he was hit by shrapnel. We don't have those details. We actually have no details from his physician, even though this man is still a Secret Service protected, and presidential candidate. We knew almost nothing. Why? Why don't we know that much? We know that 3 people were shot. 1 person, unfortunately, was killed at the rally. We don't know where they were sitting or standing relative to him. We don't know why, for 9 full seconds, Donald Trump was allowed to stand back up during an active shooter situation, even though they, at that point, had said the shooter was down. How would they have known if there were more shooters or not? Nobody knew. There could have been 5 shooters for all they knew. Yet they allowed him to stand up in the middle of that, crisis and pose for a photo.
Boy, she's desperate.
Boy, no kidding.
And fist pump the air so he could get the iconic photo. And then they allowed him to stand up again outside.
Well, these are failings of the Secret Service that we talked about. Yeah, he should have been ushered out and not allowed to stand there.
What is the actual injury to Donald Trump's ear that's under that bandage?
You guys
shouldn't we know that by now?
We do know that. He got shot in the ear, stupid.
There's a whole lot of curiosity about it.
What is she saying, though? I mean, she's not saying what... No, guy. She's not saying what we were saying, that the Secret Service didn't do their job well.
No. She is
saying something else entirely.
To plant that seed of conspiracy that this was done to help his standing, to make him look tough.
So he's in on it?
Absolutely.
Is that the implication?
I think
like
that's
he stood there waiting for the bullet to go through his ear?
I think that is...
All right, so that's enough of that. But yeah, so the thing about it is, she's not the only person saying this. Sherry Jacobus is saying it. I've seen some smaller accounts saying it, that all of this was staged by Trump, and he hired the kid to shoot his ear and didn't care what happened to anybody else that was there as long as it made him look like a hero. These are the people that we're dealing with, folks. This is why I keep telling you, it doesn't matter what you think about their choice to remove Biden from the ballot, unless you were one of the ones that were going to be voting for him. But it does also mean that for us, our battle's not over. We cannot let people that are this unhinged do what they're going to do. You guys have to see this by now, I would hope. These are the people that have convinced themselves that you're not human because you support Donald Trump. You're no better than a Nazi, and neither is he. And they tell you this over and over and over again because you have a difference in political opinion, because you believe that the country is headed in the wrong direction, because you want more freedom, not less, because you want more money in your pockets, not less, because you want the ability to chase your version of the American dream, whatever that may look like, not to have the government tell you what it is that you can do, where you can go, what you can buy, what you can eat, where you can work, and where you can live. But to them, that is progress. To have the government take all of these burdens off of your plate and have the government decide where you get to live, where you get to work, what you get to eat, that makes your life better as far as they're concerned, because then they're the ones, they're taking it off your plate for you. They're giving you less things to worry about because you won't have to worry about whether you can pay your bills or not because the government's going to take care of it for you. Unless, of course, you speak out against them. And then you won't be able to go anywhere. If you don't believe me, just look at what happens in China. They already have a social credit score system. If you piss off the government, you get locked out of your house. If you piss off the government, you don't have access to a car. If you piss off the government, you can't go to the store. These are the things that they want here, and they are willing to do whatever they have to do to get those things for you because they think it's what you need more, and they know better what you need than you do. And I'm saying this again. I understand that most of the people that listen to this program are conservatives, but I know we have a few that watch and listen that aren't. If you were one of the people who was willing to vote for Joe Biden and you are not mad as hell that they took your vote away from you and flushed it down the toilet, then I don't know what else to say to you. They have literally invalidated your vote. Literally, figuratively, and actually, whichever way you prefer to look at it, they have invalidated your vote. This is insanity. We are watching a party embrace and basically come to terms with the fact that they are an oligarchy, while they've been telling you that we were the oligarchy. Again, I opened the show with this statement. Our party tried that. Well, I can't even say our party because I'm still technically a registered libertarian. I don't know. At this point, I'm ready to go independent because everybody's pissing me off. But conservatives stopped the party in 2016 from doing what the Democrat Party is doing right now, because the establishment in the Republican Party wanted a do-over. They didn't like their nominee anymore. It wasn't any fun anymore. The bull in the china shop approach was scaring them. And the fact that he was running away with numbers they hadn't seen before was absolutely terrifying to them. And I submit to you today, if not for fingers and thumbs on scales in certain cities, we wouldn't even be where we are right now. But it was a combination of not only that, but the fact that everybody was burned out over COVID. Everybody had Trump, they were just tired of Trump. Trump was in the news constantly. Trump was being made a fool of by the media constantly, by things being taken out of context and things that he didn't say or didn't say in that order. And they just did it over and over and over again. And then Joe Biden came on the scene, and he seemed like the affable grandpa of America. And everybody was like, we want that guy. Not enough people, but enough people that they were able to put enough fingers and thumbs on enough scales in a few cities to basically steal the election from you in the middle of the night. Yes, I said what I said. It doesn't matter whether it was stolen anymore because it was still a certified vote. By hook or by crook, once it's certified, there is no mechanism to get rid of it. But if you've seen the data, if you've gone and looked, and if you haven't, then I urge you to go to 535. And I urge you to go look at it. The data's all there. They break it down by votes by hour. There is a 2 to 3 hour area where it is a cliff in reverse, where there is a straight up climb for ballots for Joe Biden. And it happened in the middle of the night during the 2020 election. Now, as somebody that crunches numbers, as somebody that likes probabilities, as somebody that looks for things that don't make sense, all of those things are true about the 2020 election. It doesn't matter anymore because it's history and it can't be undone even if we could prove it. But what matters now is we have to outperform the fingers and thumbs on the scales. This is why I keep telling all of you, even if you live in a safe state where you are convinced that Trump's going to carry the day, if you don't want to see Biden in the White House, you need to vote anyway. And if you're not going to vote for either one of them and you decide to vote third party, I don't care, just vote. Look, I get it. There are people who absolutely will not ever pull the lever for Donald Trump again. I'm not trying to reach those people or change their minds. I'm talking to and about those of you who are actively engaged in this fight and do not want to see another 4 years of Democratic rule, no matter who it may be, putting us through what we've seen in the last 3.5 years. Because it's terrible out here. Homelessness is spiking. People can't afford homes anymore. It's hard to find anywhere to even rent anymore because now they're pricing you out of being able to rent. What are we supposed to do when people got nowhere to stay anymore? And I'm not talking about like broke homeless people. I'm talking about people with decent jobs that are sleeping and working in their car, sleeping in their cars because they can't afford a house because there's nowhere to rent. And the whole COVID debacle made it almost impossible to rent anything anymore because now everybody's afraid, well, if they stop paying their rent, it's going to take me forever to get them out of here. So I'm just going to sell it. Because trust me, right now, it's a seller's market, baby. If I had somewhere to go, I'd sell mine. I'm just saying, that's how much of a seller's market it is. All right. Well, I told you guys it was going to be an abbreviated show, so we're going to shut things down here in about the next 9 minutes or so. I want to thank everybody who's been hanging out with us pretty much the entire day, though. We've not tried to do anything like that on Digital Beacon today, and it's been a platform that's just been kind of sitting there. I'd originally envisioned it as kind of a print medium, and with everything else that I've been trying to do and all the extra work I've had to do with all these news cycles, I was like, you know what? We have broadcast equipment now. We might as well just start using it, if nothing else, for major breaking news when we don't have anything else going on, which I think is exactly what we're going to do with it for now. So we had really big turnout, especially because right now only like 40 people even follow the account. We had over 300 people tuned in to our inaugural broadcast on that feed alone for the hearing today with the Secret Service. We're going to get into that in a lot more detail tomorrow because I have lots of things to say, but I have a friend who starts a show in a few minutes, and I don't want to step on him for anybody that, especially here local in Oklahoma, for anybody who wants to go turn him on. I'd much rather you do that. But we're going to get out of here in just a few minutes. Again, want to thank everybody for taking the time to tune in today. I know it's been I know if you're anything like me, you feel like you've been living in a news whirlwind for the last couple of weeks, and this whole Biden situation isn't making anything any better. Which goes back to another question. Has anybody seen him? I've seen statements from Frank Biden. I didn't even know there was a Frank Biden. That was a little weird. I've seen his Dear John letter to America. I've seen statements from a few other people, but nobody's seen anything or heard anything from Joe Biden that I know of. Now, we were covering the the Secret Service hearing today, so I may have missed it, but I have been scouring the feeds because at this point, dude really needs to show proof of life, y'all. Something's not right. And I'm saying that as somebody that, is not necessarily a fan of Joe Biden, but I think he's undergone elder abuse for the last 3.5 years. A good portion of it anyway. And we need proof of life at this point. We need to know the guy's still okay. Well, ish. Okay-ish. I'll stipulate that much. We need to make sure that he's okay-ish. Because he ain't been okay for a while. All right. I think we're about to get out of here, folks. Gonna take me a second to tell you what all's coming up later anyway. So tonight, I'll be pushing buttons for the ladies of the Red Wine. They kick off at 8 p.m. Eastern right here live on KLRN Radio. 7 p.m. for those of you in the actual time zone. Just saying. And then tomorrow, more of the same here, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. the rest of the week, Tuesday through Friday, right here doing the Rick Robinson Show. Then I'll be pushing buttons for the Cocktail Lounge tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern for Aggie and Brad. Then Wednesday night, we have Full Boat, whatever, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern with myself and Stacy. Then I produce for the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show. We have a hole in the 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock hour programming, depending on where it is, which time zone you're in. So we may actually just simulcast behind enemy lines, at least for their first hour anyway. And then if there's anything left after that, you guys can just go to the YouTube. And then Ordy and I will be back 10 o'clock Eastern on Wednesday night for Rick and Ordy. Thursday night, Jen and Rick, 10 p.m. Eastern. Friday night, back around doing He Said, She Said with Aggie Rican. Saturday night, pushing buttons for Talk Murder to Me, hosted by Bumpstock, Ken, and Barbie. And then with special guest Zelda Gabriel, they'll be talking Nurture versus Nature. And then Sunday night, America Off the Rails, 10 p.m. Eastern. Well, actually, I guess we're going to be changing that. Al, the Sunday Night with Al and Ray show, is taking a brief break. He'll be back in October. So I guess Jeff and I are going to be splitting the time for now. He's going to start doing 90 minutes, and then I'm going to start doing 90 minutes as far as I know. So that'll put me back to a start time of 9:30 p.m. Eastern on Sunday nights. And then I think that's my entire week on radio anyway. In print, you can find me doing contributions for the Loftus Party when I can find something to put up over there. Misfits Politics, much the same. Twitchy, I try to do a few a week. I haven't done much over there in the last few days. Need to put some more out. Probably will start working on that again tomorrow. And then I'm also the executive producer of the Loftus Party podcast, and that usually drops on Tuesdays. So I'll be working on that later tonight as well to get it ready for you guys first thing tomorrow morning. Usually we try to put that one out by about 9 Eastern. But on that note, folks, we have reached the point where I do have to tell you this particular show, she be over, yo.
What? Over? Did you say over? Nothing is over until we decide it is. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
Closing time. Open all the doors and let you out into the woods.
This isn't over until I say it's over!
Closing time.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? Game over, man. Game over.
Come back tonight for the ladies of the Red Wine. It's not goodbye forever, just for the afternoon.
Closing time. This room won't be open till your brothers or your sisters come.
I love you, Oklahoma. What a great crowd. I love you.
Say goodnight, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.
The preceding program was produced through KLRN Radio and is the property of Double R Solutions, LLC, all rights reserved, 2024.